It may be bleak, but this music is really getting to the crowd.
Making teenagers depressed is like shooting fish in a barrel.
Welcome back to So You're Interested In, the show where I break down an artist's discography in order to give you, the viewer, the best possible jumping off point in order to get into their catalog. On this installment, let's talk about the slowcore band Codeine. Forming in New York City in 1989, this group is credited as a major influence on the slowcore and sadcore movement. Basically, Codeine made a name for themselves by writing these super emotional, delicate songs with massive guitars played at a snail's pace. They put out a handful of records before breaking up in 1994, but their story doesn't end there. Their music left a crater in this world that couldn't be properly filled, so the band came back twice, in 2012 and 2023, playing live shows and releasing some previously unheard material. I was lucky enough to catch them on their last run of shows, and it truly was one of the most moving performances I have ever witnessed. It was actually a major driving factor in me making this video. I will say that their discography isn't all that deep, with a handful of LPs, EPs, a live album, and a compilation record. But still, if you don't know where you should be starting, then allow me to introduce you to 2 albums and 3 individual tracks so you can start your love affair with Codeine. As always, we're starting with the albums. The first Codeine record that you should be listening to is their 1990 effort, Frigid Stars. Commonly hailed as one of the saddest albums of all time, this LP is a real break in case of depressive emergency type project, mainly because it's so effective at making you sad that you should use this power wisely. It's a real with great power comes great responsibility kinda album, with that power being the ability to bring you to rock bottom within mere minutes. It won't just tug at your emotional heartstrings, it'll yank them out completely. The opening song, D, sets the tone right out of the gate, with sad lyrics all about the expectations of masculinity in a straight relationship. Crazy enough, this instrumental chugs along much faster than nearly every other song on Frigid Stars, so much so that it's one of the few that I would consider not to be slowcore. But don't you worry, once you hit pickup song, you'll be thrust into the distorted slowcore world. The opening instrumental arrangement is a masterclass in dynamic sounds, with the soft intro methodically crushed by the massive riffs. The velvety vocals cover the crunchy texture of the instrumental. It's just awesome. Same goes for Cave-In, which shows restraint in its use of fuzz. It really relishes in the empty sonic space too, coming down hard and making each note worthwhile. Stephen Imwar's vocals on this cut are some of the absolute best on this LP, and I can confirm that they are even more powerful in a live setting. Seeing this song performed completely gutted me. However, Cave-In did not wreck me nearly as much as seeing the song P played live. I'd go so far to say that P is the saddest song ever recorded. Once you hear the opening lines, "When I see the sun, I hope it shines on me," and gives me everything, well, almost, you know that this thing is going to emotionally abuse you. I mean, good God, the emotional swells are demoralizing and spirit-breaking, while the downtrodden vocals latch onto your soul and drag you closer to hell. Technically, this song is only on the streaming version of Frigid Stars, not the original LP, but it's simply too powerful not to mention. It might be the greatest song that I've ever seen performed right in front of me, and that's the God's honest truth. When I say that Frigid Stars is a break in case of depressive emergency album, I don't mean that you should play this when you are sad, I mean you should be tossing this on if you want to become sad. It's that fucking powerful. Next up, I think you should listen to their 2022 release, DeSalle. Now, you might be saying to yourself, but Luke, you just told us that they broke up in 94 and only reunited to tour. Yes, you fact-checking maniac, you are correct. But this was originally recorded in the early 90s, but it had to be scrapped due to this weird frequency problem on the recording, and it never saw the light of day. Some of these songs would end up being used on the 1994 album The White Birch, but the tracks on DeSalle are the recovered and remastered versions of the OG recordings. Now that that's all out of the way, let's start by talking about the first track, C. The pitter-pattering drums lie nearly dormant beneath the super deep bass and monumentally heavy guitars. That is, of course, until things are put into 6th gear, with this massive segment that sounds like the instruments are trying to leap out from whatever device you're listening to this on. It's yet another perfect example of their quiet to loud formula. Plus, it's played pretty straight, without as much fuzz or reverb as you would find on Frigid Stars, and because of this, it is much more articulate in its delivery. After C, we move to Junior, which is genuinely an epic track. The build up and tear down of the instrumental lead-in is ungodly perfect. Seriously, Seriously, this ends up being one of my favorite instrumental progressions that I've ever talked about on this channel. Even the vocals have a bit of bite to them as well, making this fall more in line with shoegaze than it does slowcore. Another standout is something new, mainly thanks to the beautiful sway and movements within the cut. The bass sounds magnificent, the guitar is cut like a dull knife, and the vocals are crystal clear. Everything about Something New is so lush and pretty. I would listen to this for the production and mixing alone. Before we move on to the tracks, I do want to spend some time with Word, or Weird, I don't really know how to pronounce it. From its inception, this song is anxious as fuck, with this dismemberment plan kind of instrumental. It bounces back and forth, creating a tension that isn't typically found in Codeine's catalog. And if you thought that was scary, just wait until these sledgehammer riffs burst through the mix in all of their disgusting, grimy, and choppy glory. If you're a fan of Spiderland by Slint, then Word is the song for you. Disal is absolutely a must listen from Codeine's discography, even if I personally lean more towards the Frigid Stars LP. For best listening, I suggest picking up a copy of Disal on vinyl because my pressing sounds absolutely fantastic and it makes the entire experience even better. That is going to do it for the albums, but don't you go anywhere because we still got some tracks to cover. The first Codeine track that you should consider spinning is the cut Tom from the 1994 album The White Birch. This is yet another masterpiece that leans into the dynamics of using quiet and loud wails to draw an emotional reaction. The guitar fuzz on this song in particular is immaculate, and I'd even say that you can feel each of the dirty bass notes that are painstakingly strung out. The vocals feel like a small boat trying to weather a giant storm before docking safely. They are just overpowered by the instrumental barrages. That's not to say the mix is bad, however, because I personally love the way the vocals are woven into this song's quilt of sounds. Also, one last note, I absolutely love the verse, "I'll throw sand in your eye, you need a reason to cry. I'll throw sand in your eye, I need a reason to smile." Just some sadistic little shit, it's great. There's a good chance that Tom might get overlooked by some of the other standouts on The White Birch, but that does not mean you should skip out on this cut entirely. Next, I think you should lend your ear to the song Barely Real, which is the title track to their 1992 EP. In a way, this cut sounds brighter than the vast majority of their instrumentals, which isn't necessarily saying much, but it's certainly something. But don't you worry, Barely Real is still sad as hell, with lines like, "All I want's to feel that I'm barely real, and I feel like string, I feel like nothing." The guitar in particular sounds cheery for the vast majority of the song, but it does begin gradually slipping back into the depressive sound that you've come to know from Codeine. However, it's not like flipping a light switch. It's a much slower process in comparison to tracks like Pickup Song or C. Barely Real is nowhere near as drab as Frigid Stars or Disal, so if you're looking for something a little bit on the later side, then this is the song for you. Finally, I want you to check out the live version of Smoking Room from the band's 2013 record, What About the Lonely. As a studio recording, Smoking Room is a fantastic song, but the live version brings out all of the emotions. Like, there's a certain tension that cannot be denied. The scratchy recording is far from perfect, but it's in those imperfections that you really get to focus on the intent of the song. The drums in particular are super hollow, with these very thin percussion snaps. It's a really nice contrast from the heaviness of the guitar and bass. I'm telling you right now, you have not heard Codeine until you've heard them in a live setting. So if I were you, I would go spin this live version of Smoking Room until you get a chance to see them in the flesh. And that is going to conclude my video covering Codeine. Links to all the albums and tracks discussed here will be located in the video description box below. Scroll down even further to the comment section where you can let me know if you liked any of the albums or tracks that I picked here. Maybe you're a massive Codeine fan and you think I completely butchered this video. That's fine, go to the comments and let me know. While you're down there, feel free to recommend any artists you would like to see covered on so you're interested in. Y'all have given me some great recommendations in the past, so please keep them coming. If you're like me and you can't stop talking about music, then I recommend joining the Forever Spinning Discord server. There's a link to that in the description as well, so please feel free to join. We're talking old music, we're talking new music, we're talking hot takes, we're talking vinyl, we are just talking music. And if that's something that piques your interest, then come join in on the fun. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to this channel for more videos just like this every single week. I also do shows like Stacks of Wax, Where It's At, and The Variety Show. There is so much content on this channel, and it keeps on coming. So yeah, that's gonna do it. That is going to wrap everything up. Outside of my usual reminder for you to go out and support your local record store if you are able to, along with the local artists in your area. And well, till I see you next time, happy listening.